Hey guys, this is the first episode we do with an interview with somebody else. This is my good friend and colleague Josh Dickman. We worked together on night shift for several years, and now we work together on day during the daytime. And it's a real pleasure to have him here on the first episode. He had a very interesting life and career as a network engineer, and going back to being a network engineer. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. Please like and subscribe the YouTube channel or the podcast, or tell your friends about ITCG. That'd be really awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Enjoy.
Oh, hey, Josh.
Hey,
Hey, so this is the first, I guess, audio interview we're going to do for the group.
all right.
So, as you know, I've been doing this group since August and creating different content for people who are trying to get into IT. And I think your story is very relatable to a lot of the people here. How about you just tell the story? It's your story, anyways.
I don't know how granular you want to get, but essentially I was 19 and didn't know what to do, so I enlisted, and I ended up getting put into what's essentially network engineering, and I kind of just ran with it. Got a lot of experience in the Marine Corps. Got my CCNA, got out, and then I started at the ISP that I now work at and have been there for like 7 years now.
Okay, that was a very very summarized version. So wait, how did
Yeah,
you end up becoming a network engineer though in the Marines?
I went in and I was like, I want to be infantry, and they were like, no, you don't want to do that. You're going to be a data room. I don't know what that is. It sounds really boring, but I ended up doing it, and I was in. They sent me to Okinawa, and I did what is essentially a service provider for the Marine Corps wing, and I did a lot of different things, like SATCOM, server stuff, network related setups. Like we basically would go in and set up a brand new network from everything from setting up VLANs to connecting via BGP back to Virginia. And I did that for a couple of years, and then that was like a really, really good way to start in networking.
Why is that?
Unfortunately, what's that?
Well, why was that a good start in networking?
Because we set up, I would say probably 25 new networks over the course of 2 years, and
Okay.
I helped for everything. Like when I first started, I was brand new and didn't know anything, so I just like ran cables, and then by the end, I was responsible for our firewalls and BGP and our satellite connections.
How big were these networks?
Usually it was, it's been so long I can't remember what it was called, but we were the command center for the Marine Corps wing in Okinawa. So like whenever you see videos or movies with like the plane, they're tracking the planes and they're calling in like fire missions or whatever, we set up that network. So it was probably around 500 directly there, 500 users, and then we would provide services essentially via satellite to like remote control centers.
Oh, I see.
So it was probably around 1,000 total per exercise.
Okay. So it's like a pretty much a typical campus you'd see for like a Fortune 100 company.
Yeah, like the main site and a bunch of satellite offices. So I got to set one of those up 20 times or so.
Okay. So you got pretty good at it after about the fourth time.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's cool. And did they make you get your CCNA in the military?
No, they don't really care about certs. They're really terrible about training. That was the bad part of it. Like the class you get for this particular job is like here's what a switch is, here's what a VLAN is. this is what Active Directory sort of looks like, and then figure everything else out on your own. It was pretty terrible.
That sounds
From
pretty
what I understand,
straightforward.
it's changed from what I understand. I mean, that was 2007.
Okay, so you got in at 2007.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot has changed since then. Probably it's like 13 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then so then you got out. What year was that? 2000.
Well, I left Okinawa in 2010. I got out in 2012.
Oh, okay. So between 2010 and 2012, you were in San Diego?
I was in Pendleton. I was attached to an infantry unit, which was not great from a network perspective. Like, it was basically just like 15, it was basically like 15 users.
Oh, okay. So you're pretty much their tech support guy. Is that why?
Yeah. It was like it was super important because that's how the commander of the unit would like call in like fire missions and medevacs and all that stuff. But from a technical perspective, it was pretty boring.
Okay. All right. And then you got out right around 2012, and then you started looking for work. Now, like that transition period, like spend some time talking about what that was like transitioning from military to civilian. I know, I don't know because I never did military, but people always talk about it, and it's hard for normal civilians like me to understand it really because we didn't have to go through that transition.
Well, like I think the struggle with most people's transitions is they don't. Like most of these people, they get in, they're 18, 19 like I was, and now they're 23 and now they're trying to translate the Marine Corps experience to a real world job. And it's difficult because you don't have any civilian experience to compare it to. Like I really didn't know what to expect with the network job. I didn't know who to talk to. I just made a terrible resume and put it on there and to see what happened. I really didn't know what the civilian job of network engineering was like. And like I did go to school right after, and since I had such an up and down experience in the military, I didn't know if I wanted to stay with network engineering because like one unit was great, the next unit was super boring. I didn't know what to expect from the civilian world. And so when I got out, I did start the job that I'm at now, but unfortunately I got put on the night shift at the end of the week when nothing really happens. And like that was my only civilian experience. I'm like, this is pretty boring. Like not to say night shift is bad, like there's a lot you can do with night shift, but since I was so new to networking and I was on the end of the week schedule where nothing happens, there's no maintenances, no big changes. I was bored. I was like, I don't want to do this, so I ended up declaring for mechanical engineering in school. I probably wouldn't have done that if I had known literally anybody else doing the same thing. I could talk to them and see what their experiences were like. But I didn't know what was in store for network engineering. All I had was the Marine Corps to base it on.
So if you can go back and like to 2012 when you just got out of the Marines, how would you do it differently then? Like if you were to meet someone right now who is just leaving any branch of the military, transitioning to civilian IT, what would you recommend them doing?
I mean, like if you know what you want to do, it's just hard to know what you want out of your what you want to do with your experience in the military. So if you know someone who's done it, it's easier because you can ask them, hey, what does this career field like in the civilian world? What do you like about it? What's good, what's bad? What would you what's your career path that you're looking for. That would really, because I did kind of flounder for a few years post-military because I didn't know what to do. So if you know somebody you can at least talk to.
Okay. But let's say they were like you, right? Like they were already IT, and then they got out and they're like, okay, I want to do IT in the civilian world. Like, do you think there's some sort of gap there that needs to be filled for them to understand going into it? Like, for example, salary expectations and interviewing, or like maybe normal corporate work culture, things like that. Do you think there's a big transition from military to civilian?
Kind of, because I was not entry level when I got this job, but I had entry level experience with resume writing, with talking, interviewing with people, working in a civilian job as a not entry level person. Like you kind of, when you're entry level, you're starting from the basics. But when I started applying to jobs after the military, I was not entry level. I didn't want entry level jobs because I had 5 years of experience, but I was not good at applying to jobs, talking to interviewers and writing a resume. That's kind of a challenge.
They don't teach you that stuff in the Marines, right?
They try
or at
to.
The time.
They have transition programs. They try to. It's most people either get out of the military and they go straight to school and that's all they do, which is totally fine, or they go be a cop. So they don't really cover cases outside of that. They kind of have like a resume writing, basic talking to interviewers, but at least when I did it in 2012, it wasn't great.
Okay. So yeah, maybe things have changed, but in your experience at the time, it was different. Would you still do network engineering, or would you maybe do something else now, like programming, or I don't know, systems?
I think the main thing I would change is, like, let's say I was in that situation in 2012 when I was getting out and I knew somebody who had worked at my current job for 5 years, just some like that level of experience. If I had been able to talk to him and see what he liked about it, I think I would have approached the job a lot differently, like tried to get a lot more hands-on experience, probably gotten a different degree like computer science, because now I'm having to go back and relearn a lot of programming stuff.
Do you think programming is essential now? Like, do you think it's a mandatory thing to learn?
I don't know if it's mandatory, but you're going to handicap yourself if you don't. You don't have to be a programmer, but you have to know how to do basic scripts and you have to understand a little bit of Linux. You have to understand a little bit of programming. Not to a DevOps level, but you do need it, and it's only going to get more.
Okay. That makes sense. So would you say like Python's a good start? I think you told me you're learning Python, right?
Yeah. Python.
Do you find it user friendly? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Python's good. I think Python's a good language to learn. A lot of tools like Ansible, they have Python on the back.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. And then, in terms of networking, like you've done it all pretty much from layer 1 to layer 3. Like, where do you think people should really focus on? Let's say they're doing their CCNA. Like, what do you think they should be? What really matters, like in the long term?
If you're trying to be a network engineer, then it kind of does depend on where you work, but in general, just being really good at the basics, like spending the first few years of your career, not even worrying about automation, not worrying about, like, you can't automate it if you don't understand it. So you need to understand the layer 1 through 3 really good before you can move on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And you think working in a knock environment like we have for the last 4 years, well, not you anymore, but did you find that beneficial?
Yeah, being able to troubleshoot things, like you could be there one day and you get like some like minor things and you have to troubleshoot it. Like a variety of things can break in network of a regional ISP size. Being able to go into some like configuration setup that you're not necessarily familiar with and figure out what's wrong, I think that's a really good way to start. I've heard a lot of people like going into places like Cisco TAP just because you get so much experience in such a little time.
Right.
So knock type job.
Definitely. Okay. So I think that's do you want to share anything else? I think that's enough time that we spent talking about your career, about technology, and kind of what you think is beneficial for someone transitioning and also someone just learning in general.
Not that I can think of. I think the main thing is to get the CCNA and do a CCNA versus a Juniper, just because of everyone knows what a CCNA is. Like get your CCNA and then working on the basics. Like you got to be really good at layer 1 through 3.
Yeah, like understanding how the data moves up from ones and zeros to the data link to going to the routing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think understanding like route. Just go ahead.
No, there's a little bit of lag on mine, so I keep talking over you.
Sorry, no, nothing new, Josh. Just I think understanding router logic is just paramount. Even the layer 2 protocol logic makes your decision making and the way you go about it is just pretty straightforward.
I don't know if router logic is a good term. I would call it forwarding logic.
Yeah, packet forwarding. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a better way to put it.
Learning TCP/IP is good too. Like the various TCP/IP books, they kind of tie it all together.
Are you talking about TCP/IP Illustrated volumes 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
Have you read? Yeah, there's 3. The third one came out in 2011.
Oh, I don't think I've read that one.
Oh well, you're not really a network engineer, I guess.
I guess not. I'll have to read call in a few months.
Right. And so this is a very common question amongst network engineers. Like, do you think getting the CCNP and CCIE is worth it?
No.
No, not
Only
even the NP.
This is a decision not a decision, but an area I kind of go back and forth on. I think getting CCNA is essential when you just start, because it says I at least know, the intro to networking.
Right.
I think beyond that, it's not essential. It might be a good way to learn, but unless your job or jobs that you want to apply for are requiring it, I think it's, you can get the certs if you want, but it's just more important to really learn it.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you can demonstrate it without the certifications, especially if you have the years of experience to back it up too.
And also what I kind of struggle with when I was working on CCIE stuff is it's not all beneficial to me. Like I only needed like 10% of what it covered, and the other 90% was like, sure, this is good information, but I'm going to forget most of this in a year. And a lot of like the DMVPN stuff, if I ever need to use it, I can just look at a white paper. So I'd rather spend my study time working on things that I'm going to use in the near term, or that will help me understand the technology. So I guess like after you kind of branch out into things you want to learn and things that will help you in the job.
Right. And do you see like, we know there's always like you gotta have this base knowledge of things, but do you think like if you're really like passionate or really interested in certain technologies, like for example, I don't know, Linux or cloud or something even extremely specific, like let's just say, I don't know, SD-WAN, do you think there's a career for that? Even for 10 years that's available to somebody?
Yeah, but I mean, there's a career in all of that, but
Hmm.
I don't think at least when you're starting, you should focus super specifically on one thing because
Hmm.
that one thing can change dramatically in 5, 10 years, and
Right.
you kind of gotta you have to have a solid understanding of network in general, and
Hmm.
you don't want to silo yourself too much.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. If you're going to learn, regardless if it's systems or network, learn the fundamental technologies first, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in a broad sense. Because, like, what TCP, IP, Ethernet's been around since the '80s, right? Hasn't
Mm-hmm.
the basics haven't changed. Like the everything stacked on top of it has and improved, but the fundamentals are still there.
Yeah, you gotta work on being a really good at the networking stuff, and then branch out as your interests grow.
Hmm. Right.
Not to say it's wrong to get. Go ahead.
I don't know. Finish what you're saying.
Not that it's wrong to get certs, and if you're interested, like if you look at the CCNP study track and you're like, wow, 80% of that is super useful, then obviously do it.
Hmm.
I
For sure.
spent a lot of time studying the IE track, and I got a lot out of it,
Hmm.
but ultimately I decided it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it's
Worth the
right. Yeah, I think it's IE extremely beneficial if you work for a Cisco VAR or you work for
Mhm.
Cisco, or if you're a
Mhm.
consultant and you kind of you need that those credentials.
Right.
But I think and for other people it's just really it's a challenge they want to take on, right? So
Right.
mhm,
That's totally awesome.
mhm.
If you don't have those aspirations, then it's maybe good to study, but not necessarily good to have. Because also a lot of companies have multiple vendors.
Right.
So if you're only 40% Cisco, then they're not going to really care that much if you're a CCIE.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So nice. So what are you gonna learn after Python?
I want to really focus on like Python and then how to use netconf
Oh, okay.
to pull and push things from routers.
Hmm.
And then also like we're going to start working on segment routing and different MPLS topics like that really soon.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. And so you're just pretty much stay in the routing domain for network domain then, and automation.
Yeah, I think that's at least in my opinion, that's where the money is, where the interesting stuff is.
Hmm. Definitely. Nice. Cool. All right. Well, anything else you want to share before I let you go?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for your time, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe you can be a recurring guest.
I can do that.
All right. Cool.
Hope you guys enjoyed that talk with Josh. Josh is a super interesting guy. He's not very much on the socials, but he has a wealth of knowledge. I've learned a lot from him. So I hope you guys learned a lot too. Post in the comments any of your questions you may have. I can do a follow up with Josh if you're interested, or bring him back on. Again, guys, thanks so much for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. It would really help me out. Thank you so much.